YouTube, in today's video we're going head to head with two of the best foldables on the market. We have the Galaxy Z Fold 5, the newly released, the beautiful, the lighter, pound for pound foldable champ, the Z Fold 5, versus the new contender, the Google Pixel Fold, which has been causing and stirring a lot of controversy because it's finding its way into the hearts of many owners in the foldable market. And I mean, rightfully so, right? All right, let's get into the design and build quality between these two. Honestly, both of these have a premium build quality in between them. You got the frosted glass back on both. You have nice camera arrays for both. We have a beautiful hinge. These both have great quality hinges on the both of them. All right, so as you guys can see from a design perspective, these two are both very premium, very much so. I don't think you go wrong either way. I do appreciate the lighter design of the Z Fold 5 versus the heavier design of the Pixel Fold. This Pixel Fold is coming in at 283 grams versus the Z Fold 5, 253 grams. Pound for pound, honestly, if you want a lighter device that's a foldable, you're definitely gonna wanna go with the Z Fold 5. And I'll tell you this, I have been appreciating the new weight reduction in the Z Fold 5 as of lately, especially after using the Pixel Fold as habitually as I have been lately. It was just a breath of fresh air to have a light foldable for once. And in between these two, they have the exact same IPX8 resistance, which means you can avoid water, but not dust. So please beware of dust with these foldable devices because that is the kryptonite to a foldable phone. So you can either use the traditional SIM or the new eSIM style technology with either one of these. All right, let's talk about it. The displays. Now, when you guys look at these two OLED panels on these devices, they're both beautiful. But when you take them out into the sun, I mean, let's just take them out in direct sunlight. As you guys can see, honestly, with the actual eye, like me actually looking, I can see both either way. The Samsung does appear to have the lighter, brighter display, if I'm being honest. So as you guys saw, the Z Fold 5 front OLED panel is far brighter and has more clarity in direct sunlight than the Pixel Fold. Now beforehand, I did compare the Pixel Fold to the Z Fold 4, and I was just amazed by the quality of the OLED panel on the Pixel Fold. But now that we have the Z Fold 5, I'm even more amazed. I just have to be honest. They both are very, very nice OLED panels from the outside panel perspective. Now the biggest difference between these two and the talk of the block on the tech block is the skinny, narrow front panel design versus the thicker, wider, more traditional front panel design. This is gonna cause you to go either one way or the other because they're two different separate designs. This front panel design on the Pixel Fold has caused so many foldable users to fall in love with it because there's so much of what we're used to and the breath of fresh air that we need in the foldable market. Now, Samsung is committed to this skinny front panel. There's multiple reasons as to why. Some people like it, some people don't. So in between these two, it's gonna be personal preference as to which front panel sizing you want. But I think we all know. On the Z Fold 5, you have a 6.2 inch, 904 by 2316 pixels, and it's a 23.1 by 9 aspect ratio. And then on the Pixel Fold, we have the 5.8 inch, 1080 by 2092 pixels, and it's a 17.4 by 9 aspect ratio with a 408 PPI. Currently, I don't have the PPI on the Z Fold 5 front panel. If you got it, drop it in the comment section below. All right, next up, let's get into the inner OLED panels. Boom. All right, before we talk about the quality in between the two, let's break down the actual dimensions and so forth. So on the Z Fold 5, we have a 7.6 inch, 1812 by 2176 pixels with 373 PPI. And then we get into the OLED 7.6 inch, 1840 by 2208 pixels with a 378 PPI. The Pixel Fold panel is a little bit slightly more denser in pixels than the Z Folds. But if I have to be honest, I don't care which one of these you pick, they both look great. Now when you get into direct sunlight, let's just go. Now with the both of these being unfolded, it's quite obvious which OLED panel has a brighter presence in direct sunlight. This is outside, direct light, and you guys should be able to tell. Now, both of these panels are rocking a 120 hertz refresh rate HDR 10 plus in between the two. So you can go to the left or you can go to the right. Either way, your display or OLED panel is gonna be absolute fire. Now, the next thing we could talk about real quick in between these two is gonna be performance and platform. Now, on the Pixel Fold, you have that Google Tensor G2 chip, 5 nanometer technology, which is hit or miss with a lot of users. It's enough for most, but obviously it won't be enough for the technology snobs and the tech spec thoughts out there. Generally, from the everyday user and everyday usage, I don't find any issues from a performance standpoint, generally for me, personally, in my use cases. Now, I know some people are talking about how it heats up and also just raw performance in comparison. So that is something that's a truth. This is Google's second chip. It's not their third one, which we're gonna see later on this year. This has a Snapdragon, which is far more developed. But anyways, neither here nor there. I find the performance on the Pixel Fold for me to be smooth as butter and as crisp as ever with that Pixel experience. I enjoy it. So this platform with Android 13 is absolutely enjoyable. Now, when we get into the Z Fold 5. Now this right here, I'm not gonna lie, it's the boss hog in the foldable market as far as platform and performance. I mean, we got that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is a beast. Now that also comes with that One UI 5.1.1. If you haven't updated, update. But at the end of the day, this is a 4 nanometer chipset, which is gonna be more efficient, more powerful, and more up to date versus the 5 nanometer on the Pixel Fold. So the Z Fold is more polished and more developed. So it's obviously gonna give you, in my opinion, the better performance in between the two. And in some arguable ways, the better platform, but I'm gonna be true to me. Clean Android experience is the Android experience for me personally. One UI is great, it's wonderful, I appreciate it, but it's just something about that Google launcher that just rings home for me as a previous Nexus user in the Google platform. Now, before we move into the controversial topic of battery, let me just point out that storage on these two is different as well. You have Samsung's UFS 4.0 versus the UFS 3.1 on the Pixel Folds. Now, as far as RAM goes, they both are rocking 12 gigabytes of RAM, so there's no advantage in between the two either way you go. All right, now, Pixel Fold, let's get it. All right, so when it comes to speakers, I feel like the clarity goes to the Z Fold 5, and then the Pixel Fold has more of like a darker, like lower tones and lower frequencies are more acknowledged on the Pixel Fold, but I don't think you can go wrong either way between these two when it comes to the speakers. All right, now it's time for the controversial topic, battery life. The battery life between these two devices. Because if we get into the tech specs, on the Pixel Fold, we have a larger 4,821 milliamp hour battery versus the 4,400 milliamp hour on the Z Fold 5. Now, we've all heard the complaints with the Pixel Fold about battery life. Everyone's making claims of how bad it is and how terrible it is. I'll say this, you do have to charge this thing. If you're on it consistently, this is like an everyday charger type of thing. In this world of foldables, I don't think batteries have caught up to the technology just yet. I'm not having terrible battery with the Pixel Fold, but again, I'm not having that like, battery life. Now, when it comes to the Z Fold 5, which actually, let's hold the Z Fold 5 like this. This is how you're supposed to hold it and use it. When it comes to battery life on this device, it's actually been quite decent. Is it phenomenal, knocks your socks off? Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 has came and saved the day the way that it did with the S23 Ultra? No. But what it is it's fair. It's cool. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna get that crazy battery life that we want out of these foldable devices until we get this new double stack battery technology. I don't know the full deets on it, but we should get higher capacity without the battery needing to increase as much as it did with the previous technology. But again, we don't buy technology or we don't look forward to the hopes and the wishes, we look forward to what we have. And right here with these devices, I don't care which way you go, you're gonna have to charge them consistently or keep your eye on them depending on your usage. Heavy users, you guys take the L no matter what, except for in the case of like the S23 Ultra or the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But outside of those two devices, everything else is just up for how subjective battery life truly is, the apps you use and things like that. That's why I never give definitives, because there is no definitive. You use your device totally different than I do or anyone else in the room that has one of these devices. But I can say, I'm gonna favor the Z Fold 5 battery slightly over the Pixel Fold, but honestly, I don't think there's a winner, truthfully, in between the two. Now, next up, we flip these bad boys to the back, and what do we get into? Cameras. And for that, we go outside. And boom, here we have it. The Pixel Fold's front-facing camera versus the Z Fold 5 front-facing selfie camera. Now, I'm not gonna get into the inner cams. Actually, I will. I might do that next. But again, nevertheless, this is ideal shooting conditions. There's no excuses. The sun is out. Every color, every piece of dynamic range should be able to shine and show its true ability between these two cameras. So let me know which front-facing camera is looking better, Pixel Fold or that Z Fold 5? Hit the comment section down below. All right, so now I'm shooting wide angle main lens on both of these cameras. I do not have them unfolded. I'm doing them the same way I do all of my tests. And also it's easier to hold and shoot with both of these if I use it like this. But nevertheless, what really matters in all of this rambling is which one looks better, because we got the Google Pixel Fold. This is a hot topic versus the Z Fold 5. And Samsung Nice, y'all standing strong with your Z Fold and that design, and I respect it. And then the Pixel Fold users are standing strong with this new design and a new way of using the foldable. Again, everything isn't ironed out on neither of these devices, but one obviously has a head start. So it is what it is. Let me know who's looking better camera-wise though, because that's what matters right now. Okay, now when we get into ultra wide, both of these are rocking the same 0.6 ultra wide, you know, millimeter coverage or whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if it's possibly the same sensor. You know what I mean? A lot of that happens, but there's always a difference of processing, and that's the thing that separates these two. Even if you had the exact same hardware between two, you know, platforms, it's always gonna be produced and represented in a different fashion because they have different ways of processing and they have their own little signature. So we got the Google Pixel Fold Ultra Wide versus the Z Fold 5 Ultra Wide. Next, let's get into that zoom lens. Now, these are two different focal lengths for zoom. We got a 2x versus a 3x. So the Samsung is gonna be a bit more zoomed in. I can lower the pixel a little bit more to try to get like a similar range. But you guys let me know down in the comment section below. You guys have grass to judge, as well as these fly Jordan bred ones. Let me know which one is looking better. Now we go into that under display on the Z Fold 5 versus the I ain't under nothing on the Pixel Fold on those inner cameras. Now it's probably obvious which one's gonna look better, but I still wanted to give you guys a comparison because in all reality, this is the best situation and setup for the under display camera to perform since we're outside in direct sunlight. So if it got anything to offer, we're gonna see it now. And if it ain't much to offer, then we'll know. Uncovered on the Pixel Fold versus covered on the Z Fold 5. All right, now it's time to talk about the most important topic, and that's user experience. And this is where this is gonna get very complicated and make go different ways. Let's talk about the Pixel Fold first. The reason why me personally, and maybe other content creators as well, came out just talking about their love for the Pixel Fold, it wasn't just the front display sizing, which to me is the correct sizing for a Pixel Fold. It's up for debate, obviously. But it's even more than that. It's just the user experience on this thing. Using the Pixel launcher in the foldable world. It's the same smooth, pure Android experience that we know, at least I know, and have been experiencing. I see some people, they complain they have this wrong and that wrong. I think in the world of Android, a lot of you guys forget that a lot of those apps that you guys are using are not optimized. So you gotta be careful and very picky about the apps that you choose to use on a daily and load onto your device in the Android world. I'm telling you this is serious. This is why some people can complain, go crazy, get angry, while others are chilling, happy. My user experience has been great with the Pixel Fold. there's some areas where I want improvement. Yeah, I want the app optimization to get better. Yes, I want the weight to be reduced, especially after having the Z Fold 5. Yes, I would like for the cameras to be flagship worthy. Like, I would appreciate that. And also another thing I would appreciate out of the Pixel Fold is a better battery, a more confident battery. But if I move those things aside, there's just something so familiar and refreshing about the Google Pixel software and platform and usage for me. And I appreciate that. That's what I've been loving day after day using this Pixel Fold consistently. Yes, it has its faults, and no, it's not perfect, but the user experience, and that's what matters most, has been quite enjoyable for me. Now we get into the Z Fold 5, a phone that has shocked me by far this year. A device that I had kind of wrote off a little bit in the beginning because, you know, I was disappointed for the lack of design change. Now, the one true positive I will give to this front OLED panel is how clear, how crisp, how bright, and how beautiful it is. This thing is popping out there in the sunlight. It's doing its thing. Again, the aspect ratio of this is not my favorite. I would like a wider panel, but I get it because when you open this device and you need to hold it with one hand, this is literally like the max for probably the average or the middle ground for most people. Not everyone has massive hands. So it's like they have to find that medium as to where most people can use it one-handed like this with an S Pen in the other hand, because that's how it's intended to be used. And this is all factored into the user experience of the Z Fold 5. The new lighter design, the new more confident hinge, which I hope is confident because only time will tell. The main thing I worry about with the hinge is durability. That's my biggest thing when it comes to these devices. But I like the new hinge. I like the lay flat. As far as the crease goes, I forgot to talk about this in the display section. It has improved from the previous models. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see it get better. But One UI 5.1.1 has been smooth as butter too. I'm not even gonna lie. And as someone who's a pure Android enthusiast, I appreciate One UI just as much as I appreciate pure Android. And that says a lot. You get every feature that you could have ever wanted and more with Samsung. So I understand the favorable liking to the Z Fold 5. If I'm gonna be honest, the real shock point for me with this device was when I grabbed it and I felt how light and how fluid it was from a user experience perspective. I enjoy it. I love it. And honestly, I'm gonna be real. The SIM card is probably gonna end up in the Z Fold 5 as the one out of all of these latest devices to be used. Now, the things that would make the Z Fold 5 an even better user experience would be a better battery life. It has the performance down. It has all of the OLED panels that you could want. The cameras as well. I would want flagship tier cameras. We're talking about $2,000 for these devices. There's no excuses. I don't care. People could argue, oh, the technology and the da-da-da-da-da. Hey, listen, Samsung, that's on you to figure out. But we want flagship cameras in our Z Folds. At least I know I do. So better cameras would please me, and better battery life, and a wider design option for the front panel, and shorter. Like, imagine the Pixel Fold, but with the Z Fold 5's everything. In the discussion. All right, so what I need from you guys is to hit the comment section below and cast your vote. Are you team Z Fold 5 or you team Pixel Fold? And let it be known so that we can tally it up and see what the community is truly voting to be the king of foldables. Because ultimately, which is truly better?
It was always me versus me. It was never me versus you. Misunderstood. Get up, had to beat those eyes. Got up and I beat those eyes. It's understood. It was always me versus me. It was never me versus you. And now I'm good. Wake up and I do my part. Wake up and I do my job just how I should. It was always me versus me. It was never me versus you. Misunderstood. Get up, had to beat those eyes. Got up and I beat those eyes. That's understood. It was always me versus me. It was never me versus you. And now I'm